We've had a good week this week. It's almost like an off week, so to speak, in college basketball. We've gone back to the basics. Unfortunately for us, you don't want to punish your guys. We started the week. We gave our guys the weekend off going into finals, and finals obviously is a unique week. You practice at different times, and so you move practice times around, and the guys, preparation as far as you don't have them for as long a period of time. You got to be mindful of that, and but I think we've had a pretty good week. We started Monday, we had 5 healthy bodies, and Tuesday we had 6. Same as yesterday, and hopefully today I think maybe we might get up to 7 for at least for a 7th might be for 50% of practice. So which is good. It's hard to get better when you have that few bodies, but we're trying. We've gone back to the basics as far as trying to correct some of our errors, and hopefully by Sunday we'll be frothing at the mouth to try to improve and get that taste out of our mouth from last week, Northwestern State.
Coach, a big slate of games going forward, at least for partially the history of SFA men's basketball, but also for SFA in general. Yes, you have that Paul Quinn matchup on Sunday, but you also have the road contest against La Tech. I believe it was very recent 5-year anniversary with Kevon Harris on what he was able to do with a game-winning layup against La Tech. Not overshadowing Paul Quinn, but talk about kind of the major impact that could happen going
Yeah, Hunter,
forward.
we haven't looked past Paul Quinn. We've got some great games coming up. We put the schedule together. La Tech's a great game, I think, for the region, a game that should be played. 2 programs over the course of history have done some great things. It's where I started my coaching career. La Tech, through the history, have produced really, really good NBA players, and have had a great, during when I ended my career there, they'd gone through about 10 years in a row where they've gone to either the NCAA tournament or the NIT, almost 25 years ago. So they have great history in Ruston, with guys like Karl Malone, Randy White, and P.J. Brown, who I was fortunate enough to coach. Just great, NBA players. And, Kevon hit a great buzzer beater, and then when they beat us in overtime in here to follow it back up. And then we hadn't played in a few years, and then we're going to start their series again. So then we got Furman after that, and basically a home game for them in Greenville. 2 games that, if we can get healthy, I think will affect the conference seeding, because they're basically road games and what we need to do for us. And obviously Paul Quinn, they won the national championship at their level, NAIA level. They're no pushover. We're not looking past them, and I don't want to sit here and say we are, because we're not. It brings back another former player who played here, Samaj Jahard. I think maybe their second league scorer, coming back in here to Nacogdoches, who I know wants to have a great game against me and some of his former teammates in here. So we know we have our hands full Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Playing with a smaller lineup, what's been the positives of that? Is there anything you've been looking at, this is cool, I didn't think we could do this, or anything that has surprised you?
Hopefully in 6 or 7 weeks when we get our team back, the positive of where we're at today, we'll have the guys that have more depth, playing guys that in a role that we didn't foresee them being in. Dennis, we haven't had a game this year where we haven't missed 2 starters, which, and I'm not here to make excuses, but that's the reality of where we've been, and down to 1 point guard right now is challenging for the system that we play in. So, we talked about earlier, what have we done this week? Well, we've kind of changed our style, our system a little bit. I don't think we can play as fast as we want to play because of not having the depth. And I think you saw maybe the first game of the year, first 2 games of the year, we're playing really fast and turning people over. And since then, it's really been a challenge. And where do you see it? You see it on the defensive end. There's 3 areas where we really struggled in. And You see it in our ball handling and our turnovers, which has gone up immensely this year. You see it in our three-pointers we've given up, which has gone up a lot because guys are playing out of position, and our three-point percentage because we're not guarding the basketball. I think a lot of it has to do with just fatigue and being exposed. Guys that are new players coming in and playing positions they're not used to playing and the system we're in. So we've tried to tighten that up and help them. So, coaching is maximizing your talents that you players that you have, which is a great question. So how do we maximize the guys that we have so we're successful? And that's what we've got to do as we head into conference play here in a couple of weeks. It's got to maximize those guys.
You mentioned Robbie's back. He's on that time restriction limit. Do you see that
Mm-hmm.
going forward for the rest of the semester?
Yeah, I mean, he's, hopefully we can squeeze a few more minutes out of him. The thing about plantar fascia injury, which is not common, I mean, that is a old man's injury, or old lady's injury. I'm not trying to make a gender issue out of it, but it's very rare for someone that's under the age of 50 years old that you ever plantar fascia injury. So you don't know necessarily, you don't want it to pop and you don't want it to be out for the year, like an ACL or something like that. So you don't want to push him and put him in a position where he gets fatigued and then he ruins his foot for the rest of the year. So I'm grateful he's back playing, but you can't push him so many minutes, or he has a limited amount of jumps, just like he does in practice, just like he does in a game. And so it's just slowly a rebuild with him as he going to go through the year. And he may be on this as we go through the season as far as how many jumps he has until we get through it. And hopefully we'll get to a point, maybe, that's all medical advice I get from our medical people. So I haven't been told much different moving forward. And I hate it for him because he tries really hard every day. But I'm not going to, just like with all our injured guys, I'm not going to endanger any of them physically for just to try to win a basketball game. I'm going to treat them like I would my own children. And we've had more bad luck than for a decade with this team. Diving on the floor, guy gets stepped on. Posey, Jalil gets his foot stepped on. Dede gets an elbow down on his shoulder going for a rebound with tearing his labrum. I mean, it's just I've never seen an abdominal strain in a basketball player like Latrell, and Ratish's time recovering from an ACL. So I don't know if I've left anybody out who's been out. So
A lot there, Coach.
the list goes on and on. But it's your point is very well taken. The younger guys who weren't expected to play as much are getting an opportunity. Like we thought this week, to be honest with you, Derek Tizeno, who has a meniscus issue, was probably going to miss 6 to 8 weeks, and we got some good news on him. Probably not going to play this Sunday. May not play against Tech next week, but we thought he was going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. He's going to get an operation on his knee. It's not the case now, so he didn't have to have an operation. So we got some good news there.
So he's the young man that scored 27 points last game? Or is that someone else?
No, that was AJ Kajust.
Oh, okay.
That was a kid who was on the all-freshman team last year in the league and has missed some time because who started at the power forward position for us a lot this year, Derek Tizeno. So, I mean, it was just like, hadn't practiced all this week and he's not going to play Sunday. So, we don't know for sure when he'll be back.
Have you looked at the other WAC schools in non-conference play? Have you seen anything from them? Or
There's been some great wins in the league, and you start right here at home. Sam, I think somebody said they were 7 in the net. Tarleton's had some big wins. Probably the one team that's been similar to us is Abilene, who I think is going to get it figured out. They had a lot of health and issues when they were playing a couple weeks ago. They played really well at K-State the other night. Utah Valley smashed BYU last night, and Cal Baptist had a big win, and Seattle's done great all year. And GCU has been without their point guard the last couple of games. Got beat at home last night, which is unusual. And then, just a tragedy that's going on in Las Cruces right now, unfortunately. Basketball is not really important to me with what's happening out there. Just pray for, that what's going on, and they can get some sort of semblance in what's happening. And I think that puts everything in perspective. We can sit here and talk about what we have and what we don't have, but when you look at a situation like that, and what all these injuries teach us, opportunities, next man up, growth, toughness, discipline, and we need to lean on each other especially when you. And we've had a lot of talks about what happened in Mexico State, and try not to put yourself in that position. It was a terrible ambush, and just life lessons. And that's why I think the biggest thing as a coach, you try to help these young men grow, and you don't ever want those people to go through what they went through, and with some people that aren't involved in athletics.
Just last question. You talk about it's been a consistency with the amount of injuries and talking about that, but highlighting the mental strength and the mental toughness that is either growing or has always been there for your team. Talk about that overemphasis.
And Hunter, I think the biggest thing, like when you go through disappointments, right, and it seems like every week we have somebody coming in or out of the lineup versus in. And the cavalry is coming at some point in time, right? Like our team, we had great enthusiasm for our season coming into it. And you don't want to, during this time when your guys are out, to feel like they're punished because they're getting a practice. And the guys that are hurt, like normally we would have them doing stuff on the side. Now, staff has done a great job and came to me because it's different from me. This week especially, we've tried to get the guys that were hurt really involved, feel a part of the team, really become a cheerleader during practice. Hey, you're going to do your stuff after practice. And how do we stay as one so we all feel like we all are part of it? And that's a great point and that you made. And it's the oneness and not feel sorry for yourself, not as a group, and for us during this time not to create bad habits. So when we do have everybody back, those habits are good, and we just enhance what we're doing. And I think that's, and for me, I get pretty frustrated. I mean, we've already lost 2 games at home, which usually is, we're averaging 1 or less a season. And so that's pretty frustrating for me to walk in that locker room and I get frustrated. But then you look around, you got more guys in a black sweatsuit at games than you do dressed out in a uniform. And that's frustrating. I'm frustrated for the guys that play, and they're playing too many minutes. And I'm frustrated for our fans, and I know our fans are frustrated. I'm frustrated for, our university and to stay positive until, we go through it. Because, anybody that's a mathematician or statistician say, oh, here's why they're losing. All right, but how do you fix it when you're not, when you don't have enough to fix it? As a coach, your job is to maximize your talents, solve problems. That's all coaching is, solve problems. So we put in some zone this week. We put in some soft press. We've added an offense. But I don't have a magic wand to say, hey, our 5 or 6 or 7 are going to beat their 12 or 13. And that's – but the one thing you got to hope, and I think this is the point you're getting to, is, man, we still have to keep and create trust and belief within the ones that are playing, and hopefully that's enough, and try to will those ones to get us over the hump for the next 4 to 5 weeks until we're all healthy, and keep us afloat. And that's the goal where we're at right now.
I think that does it for me.
All right. Thank you, guys. Axum.